Hey, y'all, welcome back to Empowering Real Talk. It is your girl, Coach K. Y'all know I'm back with another dope session. Before I get started, you know what I'm going to ask, right? Well, if you don't, then I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to the Upgraded Mindsets podcast or the Upgraded Mindsets media channel right here on YouTube. Because if you see my face, then you are seeing me on YouTube. But if you're listening audio wise, stop and favorite the podcast right now so you can make sure that you don't miss upcoming episodes of Empowering Real Talk. All right. I appreciate you guys' support so much. We have been going for a couple years now, and I appreciate all the feedback, all the guests. And this episode is going to be no different because I actually have a returning guest to Empowering Real Talk. So I'm super excited about that. Y'all know I love talking about changes, transformation, growth, self-discovery, purpose. We are going to talk about all that today. And I'm going to welcome my guest back. Hi, Melissa. Welcome back.
Thanks so much for having me back, Coach K. I am so excited to be here and have this conversation today because these conversations
Absolutely.
are necessary.
Tell them again. Tell them again. Y'all
These
heard her. Y'all heard her.
conversations are necessary. People need to know. We don't know what we don't know, right? And I didn't know before, and now I do, and now I just want to share.
Absolutely. So, yes, so Melissa has been here and she shared some fabulous insight. But y'all know I talk about growth, discovery, transformation, changes all the time. And since we've last had her on the show, she has done just that. So I'm going to let her, for one, tell more about her, but also talk a little bit more about the shifts that she's made since the last time she was on Empowering Real Talk.
Well, thank you very much. And because of the shifts that I've made, I now jokingly call myself the friendly toxin slayer. Because before I was only ever focused on helping people heal their physical body and getting to the root cause, which is really important. We don't want to be masking symptoms with band-aids, and that's really powerful work. However, I realized there was more. And I realized there was more because some of my clients could follow my wellness protocol and do really well with it. And others had all the best of intentions of doing it, and they would get stuck and fall off and not know why. And I was starting to question, am I not a good coach? And of course, the universe always gives you exactly what you need. And around that time, a naturopathic doctor reached out to me and said, I've seen your posts on LinkedIn. I really like what you're doing. And I'm wondering if you know about the 4 most powerful mind-body healing modalities. And I went, I don't. What are they? Let's have a coffee chat. And so we did. And that was my big aha, because that's when I realized not only do we have our physical body, we have an emotional body, we have a mental body, we have a spiritual body.
Yes.
And what taught me that day was by the time the symptoms show up in the physical body, they've already moved through the other 3 bodies. So yes, we can heal them in the physical body. However, we have to go back up and heal them in the emotional, mental, and spiritual body. That's how we get to total health. And that was a huge awakening for me. And it made so much sense because how many of you know somebody that's healed from some kind of dis-ease of the body, and then a year later, 2 years later, they have symptoms of something else?
Yeah.
That's when the body's going, hello, you didn't pay attention to your emotional body last time. All of that stuffed down emotion you've been carrying around like a bag of rocks. And I really want you to pay attention to it. So you've got some more symptoms because yes, you healed the physical body. However, there's more healing to be done.
Oh.
And that's when I decided I need those tools. Those are the tools of the unconscious mind. And they're also connected to our childhood programming. And that's when I realized that's why people are getting stuck. They're getting stuck because of that childhood programming that we download literally in the age of 0 to 6, right? And so I jumped right in with both feet to learn more. And so now that's why I call myself the friendly toxin slayer, because I help people detox their physical body and their emotional body as we release all those stuffed down emotions, and their mental body, releasing those toxic mental thoughts we have about ourselves. How often are we cheering ourselves on? letting, literally cheering ourselves on, going, I love you. You're amazing. You're beautiful. You're so smart. You can do anything you set your mind to. Versus how often are we talking ourselves down? Let's
Yes.
stop talking ourselves down. Let's release all of that. And then we look at the spiritual body. Are you in alignment with who you were always meant to be? Are you living that life that you came back here to live? Or are you in a job wishing that you weren't, but hey, it pays the paycheck and it gives you benefits, right? So let's bring you into that spiritual alignment. And when all of our bodies are aligned like that and the toxins are removed, that's when we get to live our best life and be in total health. And you can tell I'm passionate about this. I love it. This is
Girl, I
comfortable for
got
each and
chills
every
right
one
now.
of us.
You hear me? I got chills right now because it is, oh, I just had to take a deep breath on that. I'm sorry, because it is so important from a total standpoint. That is so powerful, right? I talk to my clients and I talk about how, 2024 has really been the year of exposure, the year of shifting and the year of transformation for myself, a lot of my clients, but just overall, we are seeing things that we probably never thought we would see in our lifetime. You made a great point. You touched on it. Hey, yep, you might have a short term success, but in 6 months, guess what? Something's knocking on that door again. Guess what? There's something else going on, you know.
Exactly.
Um, and I know that even now, since you have shifted it, first off, just congratulations on the aha moment, embracing that aha moment, because I know that might have been a little, scary for you. Do you think it was something that you was kind of like, oh, I don't know if I want to step out of this just yet? How did that feel for you making those shifts?
Well, it's actually really funny that you asked that question because, as I said, the universe always gives you exactly what you need, right?
True.
So, part of this training, it's actually a really powerful training. In 8 days, you get 4 designations. And I now train this training, among others, because I fell in love with these tools and they're so powerful. However, back
Nice.
then, which is about 2.5 years ago now,
Mhm.
I signed up for this program with this lady. And as part of the unconscious install, you listen to audios ahead of coming to the actual training. And you just listen to them while you're doing other things so that unconsciously you're hearing it so that when you show up to the training, it's not the first time you've heard it because
Right.
it's a lot packed into 8 days, right? And so I'm cross country skiing, listening to these audios. And all of a sudden, I start hearing terminology that I'm familiar with. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I've been here before. I've taken this training before at my health coaching school. And then I went out to use these techniques with the general public and my clients, and they didn't work. And so I just thought, again, I wasn't any good. These techniques are no good. And then that's when I moved into integrative health and functional medicine lab testing because there was science behind that. And I could show my clients what was going on inside their
Mhm.
bodies. And I left all that behind. And I literally I'm cross country skiing. I had to stop. I had to breathe. I was right by a tree. I was, you know, really hugging
Yeah.
that tree, tapping into the calming energy. Just because I went into a little bit of panic. Like, what have I just invested in to go back to that didn't work? Have I just wasted all my money?
Yeah.
And then as I breathed, I went, okay, universe, clearly you want me to do this training and to do this work. So I have to step up and get over this fear and this panic and step into this.
Mhm.
And so I did. We spent 2 days learning just about the unconscious mind before we did anything else. So it
Mm.
set me up for success. And I realized the previous training didn't do that. I didn't have any understanding of the unconscious mind before they started teaching techniques.
Yeah.
All of the training was pre-recorded videos. There was no supervised practice sessions on the techniques where you got feedback from your mentors. And so that's why it didn't work the first time.
Yeah.
Is that training didn't set me up for success. This training did.
Oh,
And
wow. Love it.
at that point, getting through those 8 days, I was like, this is so incredible. I need to go on and do my master practitioner level because at that level, you can actually guarantee your results to your clients. And who doesn't want to be able to do that, right?
That
We're all in
part.
service. We want our clients to get the results. And we can guarantee them here because we're working with neurology and we're changing behavior. So
Yeah.
the client can no longer do the previous behavior. And that's why we can actually give them a guarantee. Now they have to do the work. We are just the guide.
Of course,
So
of
as
course.
long as they do the work that we set out for them to do, we can guarantee the result.
We can guarantee the results. Yep.
And from there, I went on to become a trainer because I thought, well, I can just work one-to-one with people and that's great. And it's really powerful. How can I have more impact? I can have more impact if I become a trainer and I train groups of practitioners, counselors, coaches to use these powerful techniques with their clients. And we create literally an army of light workers helping people get to this place of total body health.
Yes, I love it. Oh my God, that is so powerful. Like, you've always had a passion, right? We've met over 3 years ago, and you always had that purpose, and it always comes through, in your conversation and things like that. But like, it's just something different about your conversation now. There's like a glow. There's like just a sense of guarantee, confidence, that, not saying it wasn't there before, but it's just different now for you. And I really love that for you. I really do. Like, you are really walking in your purpose 100%.
Yes.
I want to touch on a topic that I know that has been a part of conversations, and we know that here on Empowering Real Talk, we talk about the conversations that are necessary. So I really want to get into a little bit about the traumas, like trauma, us dealing with our traumas. And you really have a method that has been put in place to help people heal their trauma. Because right now, I feel like a lot of people are just in the conversations talking about their traumas, but no one is really putting policies in place to heal those traumas.
Correct.
What's your experience in that?
So first of all, I'm just going to say that every single human being has experienced trauma to
Absolutely.
some degree.
Yep.
So this is a conversation that is important because everybody can relate to it. And when we work with the power of our unconscious mind, which is the 90% of our mind versus the 10% conscious thinking mind,
Sure is.
we can literally heal that trauma because that trauma is unresolved emotion that has been stuffed down by our unconscious mind to protect us in the moment. What happens is our unconscious mind has many jobs. First off, it keeps your heart beating every second of every day. It keeps you breathing every second of every day. It digests your food and breaks down the nutrients whenever you eat. And you don't give it a moment's thought because it's entirely unconscious. It's outside your awareness, right? And what it's also doing outside your awareness is it's storing all of your memories. And it stores them all in like a file folder without judgment, all in order for access by the conscious mind later when we need it. There's that movie Bruce Almighty, and he opens up the filing cabinet, goes all the way down the driveway.
One of
right?
my faves. Yes.
Think of it like that. And then what the unconscious mind will also do, though, is it will repress memories of unresolved emotion. And this is why military folk don't get PTSD until they come home. It's because in the moment, they are just trying to stay alive. And that is more important of a job for the unconscious mind, is to keep them alive in the war zone. They don't have time to think about the emotion of what's going on, the horror, etc. So they just repress it all. So there's no thought about it. It's just pushed down below the critical faculty, which divides the conscious and the unconscious mind. So they can't even access it because right now they just have to focus on staying alive.
Yeah.
When they get home to safety and the unconscious mind deems that it's safe, that's when it will then bring up that unresolved emotion to the conscious mind to say, hello, you're safe now. Let's deal with it. Because we are supposed to deal with it. We are supposed to allow it to be released from our body. However, at that point, too many people are like, nope, busy. Sorry, put the hand, talk to the hand. Not going to deal with this. Don't deal with it.
Right.
Right? So we squash it back down. Not to mention society teaches us to squash our emotion anyway. The programming in that 0 to 6 age group, boys don't cry, put your big girl panties on, all of those things, right? So it's kind of our natural pattern to just squash it. And the reality is we need to release it from the body because all of that stuffed down emotion over time literally does cause imbalances in the body. It causes dis-ease. Now, many people go to therapy believing that that's how we get over the trauma. And in therapy, it's often talking about. And in fact, It's Freud that started talk therapy because he wasn't able to work with hypnosis. And he couldn't work with hypnosis because he chewed the leaves of cocaine plants that had been coated in sugar, so all his teeth fell out. Back in the day, when your teeth fell out, you got wooden teeth replacements. You can imagine how uncomfortable that would be.
Yes.
And with hypnosis, all that is required is you have an unconscious mind, all humans do, and that you can follow the instructions of the hypnotist. And you gotta understand what the hypnotist is saying, how do you follow the instructions? What I said was, if you can't understand what the hypnotist is saying, how can you follow the instructions?
Yeah.
So he wasn't successful with hypnosis. So he gave up hypnosis and decided he was going to start his own type of therapy, which is going to be talk therapy. It wasn't for the poor because it was going to require at least 300 sessions. And what he did is he had the patient face away from him in the chair because wooden teeth results in really bad breath. Thus
Yeah.
began talk therapy. A little bit of history for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love
So we have talk therapy. How many people go to the therapist, though, and they talk about their trauma and they leave feeling like they've been hit by a train?
Yeah.
And they wonder, is this actually helping me? It's great for bringing it to awareness if that's the stage that you're at and that's what you need. It is not beneficial to talk about it over and over and over and over again because that deepens the neurology and you do relive it every single time. What we need to do is release it from the body. And so one of the 4 modalities I've been talking about is called timeline therapy. And with timeline therapy, what we are doing is we are working with the unconscious mind. And we don't have to talk about it because remember, it's stored all the memories all the way down the driveway.
Yeah.
It already knows what happened. What we do is we ask it to take us to the root. Again, we want the root because when we pull the root, everything else is gone too. And then we ask for the learning. And I'm sure you've talked about this on this show before.
You know it.
Everything is happening for us. And what are we supposed to learn? So when we ask the unconscious mind to take us back to the root, and what were we supposed to learn, and we get the learnings, guess what? The unconscious mind can release all of the emotion. It just releases it. I'm getting goosebumps telling you this. I work with
I'm
this every
telling
single
you.
day.
I'm telling you. Ooh, I love it. Hey, I love it. These, it is. I
And,
definitely got goosebumps. I've just been sitting here just amazed and listening to you. But go ahead. Go ahead.
and so it's so gentle. And it's very effective and it's lasting, right? We've just released it from the body entirely. And it's not to say that we're creating zombies. Because when we pull the root, we do 7 major negative emotions: anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, rage, and shame.
Yeah.
It's not that you're never going to feel them again. It's that we've got rid of all of that's stuffed down in your body in your past and past lives, past generationally, etc. Then now we want you to be able to feel your emotions and release them in a healthy way. And so that's how we release the toxic emotions.
I love it.
We use the same technique to release the toxic limiting beliefs. And all humans share 4, not necessarily have all 4. They have at least one of these 4: unlovable, unworthy, not good enough, and powerless.
Yeah.
And we will release limiting beliefs. Now, of course, people have limiting beliefs around money, around relationships, around all sorts of things. So here, it's very personal to the individual as to
Right.
what limiting beliefs we are releasing. We release them, and now we've created this space. And so then what we do is we use hypnotherapy to give suggestions into the unconscious mind to fill that space with the suggestions of what you want and need for the person you are becoming.
That's dope. That is dope. That's so powerful. And I love, because it really just boils down to being able to heal things without having to constantly talk about them.
Exactly. Because that
You
just
know,
deepens the neurology.
yeah.
We instead show the brain a different way to go. All of our work is about bringing someone to wholeness and about creating more options. So we don't take away any neurology. We literally just create new neurology between our neuro-linguistic programming work, our hypnotherapy, our timeline therapy.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
reason everybody's heard about hypnotherapy, it's been around since the beginning of time. Neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, people are likely familiar with. Timeline therapy, less so, because it's new this century. As we've learned more about the unconscious mind, we're developing more tools to work with it. And so it was literally after 30 years of research in the latter part of last century, it started being used with clients in around the year 2000. So it's still very new. And it is the most powerful of the 4 modalities that I work with. And every single one of my clients will go through that. And in fact, when we do the practitioner training, you get to have a timeline therapy clinic for yourself on timeline therapy day. So every single person experiences having their emotions released, their limiting decisions released. And that's such a powerful day in the training for people.
Oh my God. And I know the average person probably listening to this is like, oh my God, that is an absolute lie. But listen, people, when you are on the journey of transformation and discovering who you are, it is a lot. It is a lot of things that have to do. But because we are so used to defaulting to doing nothing, we also are defaulting to complaining about why things aren't changing in our lives. So everybody has a way, everybody has a method, everybody has their own policies and procedures that they should be taking to get to this point. And her platform and her organization and what she does, they offer a variety of different things. So it could be one thing may not work, another thing is, but you have to be open-minded and receptive to receive. Because if you're going into it and saying, oh, it's not going to work for me, it's not going to work, you're already setting yourself up that it's not going to work.
100%. And it's funny you say that too, because that happens a lot with hypnosis. Oh, I can't be hypnotized.
Oh,
Well,
I
you're
bet.
right. If you believe you can't be hypnotized, you're not going to be
Yep.
hypnotized,
Yep.
because all of these techniques, we're asking you to come to the table and play all out. When we're working with the unconscious mind, we're literally working with the imagination, with that movie screen inside your mind,
Yep.
and asking you to play. And if you believe you can't, those are the results you're going to get. Because I'm only
Absolutely.
the guide. Your unconscious mind is the coach, and you do the work. So when you are ready, you will come ready to play all out, and you will get the result.
Yep.
And
Simple as that.
until then, there's some limiting beliefs there that are holding you back, and we can have a chat, because I can still show you how you can be hypnotized,
Yeah.
even when you don't believe you can be. And that allows you to then step into it with confidence,
I
because
love it.
every single human, all you need is an unconscious mind and the ability to follow instructions.
I love it. Love it, love it, love it. And that's really what it's about. It's about really understanding that the ways that you have, and I've been saying this a lot, the ways that you have used to survive are not going to be the same ways that you use to thrive.
Exactly.
So if it's something that that has had you limited, we've grown up with value systems that were instilled upon us. I love that you touched on the 0 to 6, because that is the time where we're learning these things that might not be aligned with us now. I had to discover that about myself. There were value systems that I was completely outdated for me.
Yeah.
And because I didn't want to be the black sheep, or I didn't want to be the person that was going against the grain, I suppressed that. Now, hey, I ain't suppressing nothing. And I'm very unapologetic on what I believe, my value systems, and how I operate. And because I have that completely open mind, everything comes that I request. Everything that I think about, what I manifest, what I desire, I'm already claiming it. Things that I see myself in 5 years, I have already visualized myself with that going on right now, like it's current for me. So it really just
And that's
involves you
literally
with
what
the
it
shift.
takes.
Yep.
You have to first be able to visualize it, and you have to attach emotion to that and see it happen. And then what we teach people too is to drop that into their timeline,
Mm-hmm.
and energize it with breath in order to have that happen even more profoundly for people. So yes, it's working with the power of our unconscious mind, because we talked about the 4 bodies earlier. We have 3 minds. We have our conscious mind, our unconscious mind, and our higher self.
Yeah.
Now, our conscious mind can communicate with our unconscious mind. it cannot communicate directly with our higher self. And yet our higher self holds the blueprint of our perfect health, and it holds all of the resources we need to be that person we came into this life to be. All of them. We
Yeah.
can't access it consciously. We must learn the tools of the unconscious mind in order to be able to access the higher self. And we don't learn that at school. We don't learn that in society. Some
Mm-mm.
people can intuitively tap into that and learn it, and other people might need to be shown some tools. When you have the tools to be able to access your higher self, it's as you say, that's when the resources come to you. It's the universe giving you exactly what you want when you need it, as has happened to me many times over, and I'm very
I
grateful for
bet.
it.
I
Very
bet.
grateful for it.
I love
And
it.
that's the message that I want to share with people,
Yeah.
because these are life skills to help people be, their best self, a better parent, a better partner in relationships, etc. And these tools are so simple, we can literally teach them to kindergartners. And one day I would love to see that happen, because can you imagine what the world would be like if at the age of 5 or 6, we were teaching kids how to manage their state and change their state in 5 to 15 seconds among all the other tools? And if every single human on the planet had one timeline therapy session to
Mm.
release those stuffed down emotions,
Do we
imagine what the
know
world
what
would
would
be like.
happen? Oh,
Yeah.
I can't even
Incredible,
imagine.
right?
Ooh,
And
it is
the other
crazy.
thing that I want to share quickly, I know we were talking about it before the show started, is
Mhm.
the fact that we are all creating our own reality every single day.
Yes. Yep.
And it is through our thought, and it's through our filters. And people may not realize they have filters, and we do. And the filters are how we move through time, space, matter, and energy. Our values, as you mentioned, our memories that we've talked about, our decisions, our language, our meta programs, which are the basis of our personality, like are you an extrovert, are you an introvert, etc., and our beliefs. And so those filters are created in that 0 to 6 age group. And no two of us have the same filters, because no two of us have ever lived identical experiences, even
Fact.
twins, right? So therefore, what happens is we have an event, and we are taking in 12 million bits per second of information every single day.
Mm,
That is
mm,
a massive number, and as powerful as our mind is, it's still too much for it to deal with. So it has
yeah.
to delete, distort, and generalize down to a manageable amount, which is only 128 bits per second, plus or minus 2. So we're going from 12 million to 128. With our mind siphoning it through our filters, going, yep, don't need that, don't need that, don't need that. Oh, keep that piece, don't need that, don't need that. Oh, keep that piece, right? So we have an experience, and everything about that experience gets filtered through, again, outside our awareness, without
Right.
us thinking about it. And then when we go to talk about that experience, that's our reality. So we can be at a concert with 49,999 other people. And when we leave, we talk about our reality of that conference.
Yeah.
And somebody else talks about their reality, which will be very different because their filters are different.
Yes.
And here's
Yes.
an experience I love to share. Have you ever been at like a family reunion, Kisha, where somebody starts talking about an event that happened like 5 years ago, and they start telling a story about it, and you're like, wait, no, that's not what happened. This is what happened. And then you start to think, what's wrong with their mind? How come they don't remember this? Like, this is what happened. I know this was me. Before I learned about the fact that we're all creating our own reality, I
Yeah.
literally thought other people were losing their memory. And now I know they're not losing their memory. They
Yeah.
are sharing their truth of that experience, and I'm sharing my truth of that experience. And our realities are different,
Yeah.
and that's okay. And the point of sharing all of that is that, again, those filters, we use timeline therapy to change those filters. Because if your filters are running the horror show and your life isn't looking that great right now, the good news is we can change those filters so your filters can start to run the love.
I love it. It starts with you. And doesn't mean that you have to tackle it by yourself. How I highly encourage that you do seek out support, help, whatever that looks like for you. Whether it's starting here, finishing here, exploring your options, because that's the first step of the transformational journey for yourself, is exploring your options, being able to, because coming out on the other side of these things, like, you're going to have a completely different lifestyle. What you have known and what you have done before, and I can speak from personal experience, I don't do the same things. that I used to do. I don't think about the same things that I used to think about. I'm not in the same spaces that I used to be in. It is all a complete shift in my life because I chose to take those steps to step into my higher self. And I'm still stepping. I'm definitely still stepping,
We're never
but
done. We
it
are never.
never, ever, 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 ever. I always use the ing on the end of words. I never
Right.
use the ed or the present because it's always going to be a continuous journey. But that is
Yep.
also the power that of my mind that I have instilled because I always want to grow. I always want to pivot. I always want to level up. I always want to be a better, higher version of myself. And just that's my mindset every day. Every morning, the first 30 minutes of my day are intentionally focused on ways to help me step into each and every one of those things to be my higher self every day. Now,
I love
we
it.
have our days, y'all. Y'all, I have to always put that disclaimer because, when you have these conversations, people are like, oh, you're perfect. Far from that.
No.
Okay. Far from that. But I love having these conversations because I know they are going to be a motivational shift for people to say, you know what? I was curious about that. I wondered about that. This has given me the information I needed to take that step forward. And of course, y'all know I'm going to make sure that y'all got Melissa contact information in the podcast notes. So if you want to reach out to her, you'll definitely have the option to do so. So I just love that you came back, to share this insight because it's very powerful. And I think that my listeners are going to really, really get some great, great stuff back from that. And I wouldn't be surprised if you get a couple people reaching out like, hey, I listened to you on Empowering Real Talk. I got a question.
I absolutely welcome people to reach out. These are life skills that I'm
Yeah,
now teaching, and
yeah,
I use them myself each and every day.
yeah.
And
And that's
just to
important too. Yep.
exactly, what's the point of having the skill? Like you've got the tool belt, you don't use any of the tools in it, right?
That part.
And
That part.
and it was very powerful for me earlier this year. I was diagnosed with metastatic melanoma in my lower right leg.
Mm.
And I went down to meet the surgeon who I thought I was just having the mole removed. And then she started to tell me, well, no, we need to flood you with some radiation to determine which lymph nodes we're removing. And then that will determine your chemo and your radiation treatment, et
Oh,
cetera, et cetera.
wow.
And as a holistic practitioner, I was like, well, I'm not going to do the chemo and the radiation. I've got my own tools. So then that means that you don't need to take my lymph nodes because I like them where they are. And then I don't have to flood myself with radiation. So I'm going to do this my way. And I was then able to use all of these tools to figure, okay, what was a significant emotional event that triggered that mole to start changing? Now let's use some timeline therapy to release the emotions around that event. And I had that booked anyway, because I do monthly with my cohort. Because when we're
Mhm.
working with clients, we kind of take on theirs, even when we don't want to, it happens,
Right.
right? So we do our cleanups every month. So I had that booked already. So released it, right? Then stepped into some energy healing, some other natural healing remedies. And I was able to do it my way. And I was back skiing a week after my surgery and living life fully. And and I asked when the fear kicked in on my drive home from talking to that doctor, because it will,
Yeah.
I had enough to know I don't need fear. That will tank my immune system when I need it the most. How do I get out of fear? Oh, I ask how this is happening for me. How is this happening for me? So that I have a story that can teach
Yeah.
others about advocating for your health and that there's other ways to heal. There's never just one way.
Never.
And from there, I went, okay, so what's the next action I can take to keep me moving forward so I don't keep going back into fear, right?
Right.
So then I stopped at my naturopath's office and booked a high dose vitamin C IV treatment. And I just kept moving forward. And I had great empathy for people that don't know what I know, that receive a cancer diagnosis, because it does put fear in you. And when you're in that state, your body can't heal. When you're in the state of hope, it can. And so
Yep.
tapping into these resources and using my tools allowed me to stay in that state. And I've been very blessed.
I
And I
love
was
it.
able to heal myself. And I
I
actually have
love
my
it.
story on my podcast about that if people want to listen to it. And I
Absolutely.
can
Definitely want to check that out. I'll make
definitely
sure that I
send that
share
to you.
that as well. Listen, I had to woosah for a second because I didn't realize how powerful this episode was going to be for me. As someone that, continuously strives to be better, this was such a ray of motivation for me. And I really appreciate you reaching back out and saying, hey, you still got what you got going on. I'd love to come back and have some conversation with you because it was probably needed for me too, So although my guests love it, I love it as well, and this is what it's about for me. Being able to reconnect, being able to offer revived value, revived insight, and really give people alternatives on whatever journey it is that they're on, whether if you're healing trauma, whether if you're, just wanting to make positive lifestyle changes, it really begins with you. You've got to really figure out what that looks like for you. You've got to be prepared to put that blueprint together. And I'm just super blessed to be walking that journey, but super blessed that you have pivoted and elevated your journey because I think it's just amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. And I really appreciate you having me come back. As we've said, these conversations are necessary. People
Absolutely.
need to know their options so
Yep.
that they can figure out the right healing path for them.
I agree. I agree. So what's coming up for you? As we record, we're kind of finishing up 2024, getting ready for 2025. What is coming up for Melissa?
Well, I have a training partner. We've just launched our business called Amplify Impact Academy and still
Nice.
working on the website just so if somebody goes to it too soon, it may not be up yet. However, Amplify Impact Academy, and this is where we run our trainings. And in
Brilliant.
2025, we are going to be running trainings that inside 90 days, you become a master practitioner level of these modalities I have been talking about, where
I
you
love
can
it.
guarantee results to your clients. And you get four designations in these modalities at both the practitioner level and the master practitioner level. And it's life-changing for you. It's life-changing for your clients. And we include some self-hypnosis training. We include designing your destiny, because who doesn't want to create that design?
Yes.
We include, a Meet Your Unconscious Mind workshop, just as step one, because not everybody knows about the power of the unconscious mind. And we include another 3-day hypnotherapy designation as well, because there's so many different modalities of hypnotherapy to set people up for success in having these tools, being well versed in them. All of our training is both theoretical and practical, with lots of time to experience the techniques and work with your classmates. And we have business startup support for people afterwards if they need it. And we create a community so that you become part of our community, working with all the other practitioners that are already there. And that means you never have to pay for any kind of therapy session again, because you just do swaps with the other practitioners in the group. And that is worth the price of admission before you even use it with a client and charge them more money, because you can.
I love it. I love it. That is so awesome. I just want to wish you continued success, you and your partners, the business and everything else. Definitely come back. I just love that, you're branching out and continuing to excel. So I really appreciate you being here. Let them know where they can find you at on social media and all that good stuff.
So my business is yourguidedhealthjourney.com, and that's my website. And I'm on LinkedIn as Melissa Deely. I'm on Facebook as Melissa Deely. I'm on Instagram as Guided Health Journey. And then for Amplify Impact Academy, we're just launching, as I've said, our Facebook page is Amplify Impact Academy. And Instagram is also Amplify Impact Academy. And our website will be that as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Melissa, for coming. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, if you have not subscribed as of yet, make sure you do so right now. And make sure you share this with somebody that might get some great feedback from this. Okay. Make sure you share it. Tell them to follow the page, follow the channel, follow the podcast. All right. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Let me know what you thought of the episode. All right. You can definitely make sure you chime in your comments, whether you're on Spotify, Apple, especially on YouTube. I definitely want your feedback on this, guys. Let me know what you think. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. If I'll tell you before, stay empowered, baby.